Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, July 16th, 6:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am your host of the DaveTalksSports podcast. I am Dave Ettinger, and I'm of CBS Sports Radio Network, where you join me every single morning on my way home from work, and that's where we are today, just getting on the way home. A lot to get to, so I'm not going to waste much time. We're just going to jump right in. Some NBA news, it just continues. It's the gift that keeps on giving, as I told you the other day. Ben Simmons. Now, people are critical of Ben Simmons, and this is kind of, I think you either love this or you hate this. There's really no in-between. Now, I'm not a Philadelphia 76ers fan, but I do like their team and I do like their roster. I think they are legitimate NBA championship contenders. I do. I actually do, because the East has gotten weaker. I know that Durant and Kyrie Irving both went to the Nets, and that makes them stronger, but Durant is probably not going to play at all this year. The Raptors have gotten weaker because they lost Kawhi Leonard and really didn't add anybody else of significance. So you look at the 76ers staying strong. You look at the Bucks staying pretty strong, but they also lost Malcolm Brogdon. And so I think that while the Pacers are still a good team, there are good teams in the East, but I think that the Philadelphia 76ers are just a really solid team. And I actually think in the early prediction boat, I think they do come out of the Eastern Conference. But Ben Simmons, that's who we're talking about. He was extended 5 years, $170 million. That's $34 million per. It's just an insane amount of money. We don't get into that conversation because we know it's all monopoly money. That's not the conversation. The conversation is he worth it? Are the 76ers going to regret it? These are the questions that I pose to you guys, and you can drop these answers to these questions right below this video in the YouTube comment section. You can also find me on Twitter at DaveEttinger2. So, Ben Simmons can't shoot a basketball. No, legitimately, he can't shoot. So the question is posed in today's NBA, where it's threes and it's dunks and it's very little defense. Yes, Ben Simmons is talented all around offensively outside of being able to shoot. That sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but it's true. I mean, he's a walking triple-double at 6'7", 6'8" from the point guard position. He's kind of like a power forward, point guard combination. You know, he's an interesting guy. You know, as he misses his whole rookie season after he's the first overall pick in the draft due to an injury, but then he comes back and he plays really well. Now you're hoping to see him take steps forward, but this is a guy who legitimately cannot shoot a basketball outside of 10 feet. Last time I checked, shooting is a requirement in the NBA. Yes, you don't have to all be Steph Curry. You don't have to all be, Ray Allen, Klay Thompson, the best three-point shooters we've ever seen. You don't have to be that. But you got to be able to shoot a little bit. Ben Simmons also knows he can't shoot. The man has only attempted, get this, in the last 2 seasons combined, one 3-point shot attempt. He knows he can't shoot. So, yes, he can give you still, despite that, he can still give you 15 to 20 points a night, and he can give you almost 10 assists and 10 rebounds a night, because he is a walking triple-double. So, I think he's a good piece on the 76ers. I just don't know that the 76ers are going to love this whole extension and the amount of money that they have tied up in Ben Simmons in a couple of years when they realize he's good, he's not great. They also gave Tobias Harris a massive, amount of money, and I don't know, it's an interesting fit, but they have a lot of nice pieces that all do different things. Embiid and Horford are going to be like the Twin Towers down low, and then they're a big team. Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, I mean, these are big, physically big guys. So I think it's really interesting. Now, can they compete with whoever comes out of the West? We'll see if they come out of the East and if they can. I don't know. But Ben Simmons getting paid. On the other end of the NBA spectrum, you're getting J.R. Smith being waived. I mean, this guy, from the Knicks to the Nuggets to the Cavs to the, you name it, the guy's just a clown show. An absolute head case who is as streaky as they come. Just one day he's literally going to be 0 for 7, score no points. And the next day he's going to be 5 of 7 for 3 and be the second best player on the court. So getting waived, there's a lot of jokes and memes and different things floating around social media and online where he's going to end up with the Lakers and just follow LeBron around, like a little puppy dog following around his owner. I don't know. I think the days of J.R. Smith in the NBA should be over. I don't know. We'll see. There's no prediction here on that. I just know that I would, from untying people's shoelaces at the free throw line, J.R. Smith, see ya. So that's really it from the NBA world. I just think the Ben Simmons extension is very interesting. I wish I had more time to talk about it. I think it's amazing that a guy in the NBA who can't shoot at all, you're talking Rajon Rondo bad, and what Russell Westbrook has become from the 3-point line bad, shooting 20 some odd percent. And there's one last thing actually we can talk about from the NBA, and it's actually an easy transition from Westbrook's woes behind the 3-point line to Giannis, the current MVP of the NBA in the regular season, really learning how to shoot over the last couple of years. He's improved. You can see statistically, and also with with the eye test, you can see that Giannis has improved greatly in every single aspect of the game. Excuse me. Since he entered the league. Now, this is still a very young man, and he's made absolute, just enormous strides as a player. So, we're just going to watch out, make sure we don't run anybody over. So, it's interesting the way he works, the way he looks, the way he thinks. I really like Giannis. I like his attitude. I love his work ethic. I think, it's hard to say because I'm not in the room with all these guys, but it's hard to say that anybody is going to outwork Giannis with his preparation. If you read the long-form article that was written this past year about his preparation, about how the coaching staff and the training staff and the medical staff in Milwaukee actually had to tone back his workouts, his 2-a-days, 3-a-days, because he needed to focus more on taking care of his body, not so much for the short term from day to day, but for the long term. This is a young man, very tall, very athletic, very lean. He's put on a lot of muscle. And you want to make sure you avoid injuries. He's spending a lot of time, money, and energy in maintaining his body, and that sometimes is the most important thing. I always say, your best ability sometimes is availability. So just being on the court in general sometimes is the best ability that you can have. Now, Giannis, in front of a crowd of fans who were chanting MVP, MVP the other day, he said, all right, let's get this all out of our system. Everybody now, let's give us one last time. Let's get the chant of MVP, MVP, MVP out of our system. But after today, stop calling me that. Some people were taken aback from that, said, I don't love it. Maybe, you're a little bit of a D nozzle. What are you doing? I don't take it that way at all. I think it just fits into his persona of, I feel like I'm the best player in the world. I just won the MVP. Made a nice run, in the playoffs with the Bucks. But he thinks that there's only one way to go for him personally and also for the team, and that's forward and upward. Upward and onward, right? Onward and upward. Or, I can speak English. It's the only direction he wants to go. He wants to improve. He wants to get better. He wants to win multiple MVPs. He wants to win multiple championships. So I think it fits into that attitude of, all right, I'm glad I'm the MVP. I want you to call me that. We'll all enjoy this for a minute. But then we got to move on, and you call me the MVP when I win it again next year. And you call me the man when I win a championship next year. And that's what It's always interesting driving home from the city. You never know what kind of trucks and motorcycles and all sorts of people are going to try to just drive you right off the road. Here we go. Bear with me here on the Dave Talk Sports podcast. This is episode number 18. You can always find me on Twitter as well at DaveEttinger2. On my website, DaveTalkSports.com. On Facebook, Dave Talk Sports Facebook page. You can find me everywhere. But most importantly, subscribe below this video to the Dave Talk Sports YouTube channel. So I really like Giannis' comments. I don't know why people are giving him a hard time, and there's nothing to dislike about Giannis. Again, he's the MVP. He wants to be the MVP every single year, and I think he's going to eventually win a championship. And in a minute, very, very soon, he's going to be the best player in the world. He's going to improve on that three-point shot, the outside shot, and I think he becomes the best player in the world. And I'd really like to see him, though. I'd like to see him shooting 35+% from the three-point line. He talks about wanting to emulate Kevin Durant in certain ways, and I think that's a great way to be. Kevin Durant is a guy who can give you 50 from the floor, 40 from three-point range, and 90 from those almost unattainable numbers that people strive for from the free throw line and from field goal, percentage-wise. So it's something I think that Giannis strives for. Now, I want to talk about the MVP race in the National League. No segue, no transition. We're just jumping, so follow along. You guys are smart. You could do it. I said last week you might as well just hand the trophy to Christian Yelich, but I may have spoke too soon. Cody Bellinger is ridiculous. He's having a ridiculous season, an absolute bounce back that I think a lot of people saw from last year. They saw it coming. Don't know that they saw it to this level. Christian Yelich hitting approximately .330, has, I believe, 31 or 32 home runs right now and almost 70 RBIs. He's also stolen 21 bases, which is insane because he hit 30 home runs and stole 20 bases in under 100 games. Absolute insanity. But Cody Bellinger, with 2 more home runs last night, and the Dodgers, who are 30 games over 500, who look like the favorite in the National League to go to the World Series, have a man in Cody Bellinger who now has 33 home runs, and he's leading the league in home runs in the National League and in all of Major League Baseball. I apologize for the sun glare. It's an interesting time of morning sometimes to be going home, so, my apologies, but bear with me here. One of these days, we're going to get the audio from this podcast onto an actual podcast format, and you won't have to look at this pretty face and sun glare. But for now, you put up with me on YouTube. So, who's the MVP in the National League right now? That's the question I pose to you. You can get at me on Twitter at DaveEttinger2. You can find me and subscribe on this channel, on the YouTube channel named Dave Talk Sports. And I want to get the conversation going. There's a lot of baseball left. Who is the MVP in the National League right now? I think it's Christian Yelich. As good as the Dodgers are, as good of a year as Cody Bellinger is having, he's hitting .332, has 33 home runs, 75 or 76 RBIs. He's having an insane season. I just think Christian Yelich is the more valuable player. He does more for his team. Now, you can argue with me, and that's the fun in this. So let's talk about it. Post your responses in the YouTube section below this video. And I'm going to end on a more somber note, a sad note. Pernell Whitaker, one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the history of boxing, passed away yesterday. Unfortunately, he was struck by a car. He was only 55 years old. Just really sad, really unfortunate. There's really no words for the level of sadness that we have for him at 55 years old. But I want you to remember Pernell Whitaker, the boxer. He was great. He won a gold medal, held titles in 4 different weight classes, and again, regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound boxers of all time. Again, my apologies. This is by far the worst sun glare I've had on this podcast on the ride home. We're a couple minutes away from wrapping up here, so just bear with me. Just want you to remember Pernell Whitaker. He had an unbelievable record. I believe he was 44-1 with 1 no decision. Lost 3 out of his last 4 matches at the end. Maybe he held on like most people do too late. He fought from the mid-'80s into the very early 2000s. His last fight was actually 2001. But most notably, he fought Oscar De La Hoya. He actually fought Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s uncle, Roger Mayweather. It was just a really, really, really great fighter. And just want everyone to remember him and, try to honor him in the best way that they can today. Just a real tragedy. I mean, struck by a car at 55, and you just never know. You just never know. So, thank you for joining me today on the Dave Talk Sports Podcast, episode number 18. I hope you enjoyed. Again, apologies about the sun glare. One of these days we'll get this audio on a podcast-only format. That's coming in the next couple days, I hope. I'm working on that. But until then, you can find me on Twitter at DaveEttinger2. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel right below the video, the YouTube Dave Talk Sports channel. Till tomorrow, see you.